He didn't tell us. He went to the doctor gave him some Prozac. Even if he had have told me, I wouldn't have known that Prozac could have been harmful. Then one night he took 2 Prozac tablets, and the next morning he stabbed me.
He stabbed you?
Yes, I was laid in bed reading, and blind on this side. He walked in and he stabbed me. Twice.
And they wanted to charge him with attempted murder, and we didn't want to press charges. And then all this, it just ricocheted from there, and it was a downward spiral, and there was nothing for us to stop it.
He got put in a psychiatric hospital. They wouldn't accept that the Prozac had anything to do with it.
When that happened, again, you being a nurse and you being keenly aware of probably what goes on in places like that, what were your first thoughts as a mother?
Well, we're all doomed. I just thought we're doomed.
Jeanette Blackborough's maternal instincts were correct. Her son Christopher, after repeated beating at the hands of his supposed caregivers, committed suicide. Just for the record, this is not a statement of opinion. It is fact.
They're robbing children of their souls.
It's a chemical lobotomy.
It's the same story over and over again.
These drugs were never designed to be used in children in the first instance.
The drugs that are changing a generation.
I think the use of stimulant medication and antidepressants in children is just so out of control.
The year's most controversial documentary.
As we turn them into consumers of psychiatric drugs, are we in essence sacrificing the kids?
Generation RX.
We are medicating our healthy, active kids into the ground because it's a good way of babysitting.
I could find nothing wrong with these children, and yet I was increasingly met by the educational establishment with the response, well, if you won't write the Ritalin prescription, we know someone who will.
A storm is brewing, a man-made maelstrom.
Jefferson County 911. Oh, God. Stay on the line with me. Oh, God.
Academy Award winner Paul Haggis calls it a powerful and often chilling eye-opener.
This idea that some double-digit percentage of our children need medicine, we're just spitting in Mother Nature's face.
And says the stories continue to haunt me.
My son died as a result of Ritalin.
Zoloft killed my sister.
This child's life was robbed.
She shot herself twice.
This drug is too dangerous to be given out like candy. How many deaths need to occur before the FDA is convinced?
Discover the facts.
Senior officials at FDA knew about potential suicidality as early as the 1980s. They looked the other way.
The fraud.
Every single panel member has financial associations with the pharmaceutical industry.
The conflicts of interest was so enormous.
All manufacturers were well aware that they had serious side effects, and all of them took steps to hide that information.
Witness the betrayals.
To make patients out of normal children for profit.
$69 billion, $130,000 a second.
It is not only anti-scientific, it is contrary to our Hippocratic oath.
The fear.
Had I been told that 4 out of 100 children die on an antidepressant, you can damn well be sure that my child never would have been on one.
Critics say Generation RX is shocking, incendiary, a jaw-dropping emotional ride, a must-see tale of criminal conspiracy.
Everything is incentivized to label children as ill.
Kids I know all over my community could easily, if they were in a particular school with a particular teacher, be labeled as hyperactive. I don't put a lot of credibility in the definition of hyperactivity. I know that some people would criticize me for this because they think it's all good science. It's really not. It's part of the commercial reality.
This commercial reality was brought about in 1970 when psychiatrists announced that children were suffering from a new disorder called minimal brain dysfunction. That year, 150,000 children were placed on Ritalin. Pandora's box was opened, and the drugging of children has grown exponentially ever since.
I can't fathom why people can't put this together. We have in our schools, grammar schools and high schools, these so-called drug-free zones, where you can't even ride on the street carrying any kind of drug. Yet inside the school, it's a cuckoo's nest. They're lining up to get drugs that do exactly the same things as methamphetamine that they disallow even in the perimeter of the school. Why society and why intelligent adults can't see the idiocy of what is going on in our school and the damage it's doing to the children, I don't understand.
The Germans had been worried about suicide and violence, particularly suicide, on Prozac. So they asked Eli Lilly to review its clinical studies. And what did they found? In their in-house study, they found between a 6 to 12 times increase in rate of suicide attempts on Prozac compared to placebo. So what'd they do? They never reported it.
It was a matter of how do we cover it up? How do we hide it? At every step of the process towards approval and marketing thereafter was designed to hide and mislead the public and physicians about the suicide side effect.
The hiding of information, the deliberate lying about information is the big ethical issue. If the public wants to take Prozac, they should have the opportunity to do so, but they should do so in an informed way.
What about your concern regarding something like Prozac, that very well documented, 28,000 adverse reports, 1,600 suicides associated with that drug?
Well, you know, drugs that go through our very rigorous testing and review process are very well understood chemicals, and drugs are recognized to have both risks and benefits. That's why they go through a rigorous evaluation, and when those products are put out on the market, we have a good scientific understanding of both the risks and benefits.
A good scientific understanding? If that is so, why didn't the FDA catch the suicide risk so apparent in the scientific studies? The fact is, the FDA knew. How far are we willing to go to exert control over our youth?
C. Generation RX. And wake up to the nightmare.